Am I the asshole for not telling my ex-wife that we lived in a rental apartment? Hi. Back in 2008 when I started university, I rented a 2-bedroom apartment with my ex-girlfriend at the time and my friend and his girlfriend. We got a great deal for it, as the owner of the place lost his job because of everything that happened back then and decided to try her luck abroad where she still lives. Years went by and after university my friend and his girlfriend decided to find a place of their own, as we had full-time jobs. Renting this apartment together did not seem expensive anymore, and also did not seem expensive to rent alone after we broke up some time later. So there I was, alone in a 2-bedroom apartment in the central part of the city. The owner decided that she was too lazy to mess with bills and stuff every month and made arrangements for me to pay everything directly. As I earned her trust, I still pay her monthly rent, which is very cheap for today, and deal with everything else having her authorization. Because of the perfect location, my second bedroom was basically free B&B. For my friends who did not live in the city and I did not mind, it is good to have company if you live alone. In 2020 I met a girl who was in a rush to get married, and as I was madly in love we did in 2021. For some reason, I never told her the story of how I rented the place or that it was a rental at all, it just never came up. I have been so used to the fact that I am an authorized representative with building cooperative things etc., that I refer to it as my place. Our relationship started to cool down and we found out that we were not perfect for each other after all, so divorce it is. So we did the paperwork for divorce and she is moving out. A few days ago I received an email from her with a real estate valuation document as an attachment. While I was not at home, she wasted €500 for someone to evaluate an apartment that does not belong to us, and wrote that I probably had to take a loan to pay her the 50% of that. I replied to her, didn't I ever tell her that this place is a rental? Why does she even assume that I can afford a 2-bedroom apartment in the city center? She knows where I work and how much I earn. She called and screamed at me that I had lied to her for years and hid the fact that the apartment was rental. Then she tells me that, well, she will take the car as we got that together. And I was quiet for a moment and then told her, you do know that is a lease, right? The owner of the car is the bank. Then she demanded that I pay for the valuation and I replied, I did not ask you to do it. She called me an asshole and ended the call. Of course, she told our whole friends group how I lied to her during the whole marriage, and there was a discussion in a messenger group with friends that if is it a lie or not, whether was it an asshole thing to do. Some agree with me and some with her. My best friend told me that this is a perfect topic for a Reddit thread. Now I ask you, Reddit, am I the asshole? It's odd you didn't tell her, but also odd that it wasn't part of your conversation about life and who was paying for things and how and so on. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. I wonder why she was in such a rush to get married? Was her plan all along to get married and then take you for half of everything after a couple of years? I'm sorry, this is technically not funny, but I laughed so much when she tried to get half of the apartment, failed, then tried to get the car and you just drop, that's a rental, XD. She tried so hard. Not the asshole. It's weird that it didn't come up at some point, but you are not an off for not specifically telling her. Out of curiosity, which EU country do you live in that she would claim half of anything when it's premarital assets? Which clearly wasn't in this case cuz rental, but just wondering. Not the asshole for not disclosing the rental, though I do find it strange you guys seem to have somehow not communicated enough regarding finances, assets before and during your common life together. I really enjoy when greedy people get nothing. Not the asshole, and thanks for sharing. Not the asshole. You never lied and told her you owned, she was the one making assumptions. Even if you rent, it's not uncommon to refer to it as my place, or home, etc. She sounds like a money-grabbing BH, and I'm happy that you rent your apartment and lease your car so you aren't losing half of them to her. At least now you know for sure who she is and that you made the right decision to get divorced. Am I the asshole for refusing to discuss my daughter's name with my family because they want me to change it? I, 29 female, gave birth to my daughter, Sloane, 14 weeks ago. My husband, 30 male, and I didn't announce her name until she was born. The reason for this is because I knew my family didn't like the name Sloane and would spend their time trying to talk us out of the name. I know this because I started loving the name Sloane when I was a kid. There was a girl in my class from 1st to 3rd grade and I told my family at the time I thought her name was really cool and they told me it wasn't, and my parents said it wasn't even a real name. I brought it up a few times. But I remember the negativity. I even remember my mom pitying her because of it. When I was 14 she even brought her up and told me she bet Sloane was going by her middle name or a nickname by then. She moved schools after 3rd grade so I didn't see her. When I was 16 one of my friends transferred schools after a move and mentioned Sloane was in her class and still used Sloane. I rubbed it into my mom's face so hard. But she told me it was still an ugly name and she felt bad for the girl who had to have it as her name. My parents prefer names like Anna, James, Elizabeth, William and Hannah, which are my siblings and my names. They think those are sophisticated and classic and easy to use through life. They don't think Sloane's a kid's name. Just not a real name and so ugly. I was lucky that my husband loved the name, and when we talked baby names he said we could name a daughter Sloane. He also knew how my family felt, so he was on board with keeping the name to us until our daughter was here. You might think that the name being official and on the birth certificate would deter any negativity on the name. But since my daughter's name was announced, my family have wanted to sit and discuss the name. They said they never believed I would seriously carry on and name my daughter Sloane. I shut them down and told them I did, and that was that. I have refused to discuss it more. I ignore them via text if I have to, or end calls. I left my sister's house just a week ago because they tried to bring it up. They told me it's childish to run away from a serious discussion. I said we have nothing to discuss. That my husband and I had our discussion on the name, and that was the only one that needed to happen. They told me a part of being a family is hearing each other out, and I'm being childish by refusing their requests. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. They told me a part of being a family is hearing each other out. They sound utterly insufferable. Start nicknaming each one of them words that rhyme with Sloane to their faces because you can, and there isn't a thing they can do to stop you. Not the asshole. Part of being family is respecting and supporting each other. Tell them that. Sloane is a cool name. It's uncommon for a girl and distinctive. Hey, you always remembered that girl form school, didn't you? I have a fairly unique name that's gender neutral, and when I was born my aunt told my parents they were making a mistake. She recanted a few years later and agreed she can't see any other name fitting me as well as mine does. I hope with time your family comes to love the name. Not the asshole. They told me a part of being a family is hearing each other out. Except they don't want to hear you out. They want you to sit quietly while they tell you how much they hate the name and expect you to listen to them. You've been clear for years now that you like the name Sloane. And since you're the one who conceived and is raising your baby, your opinion on her name is a million times more important than your family's. My parents-in-law told us that they don't like the name we picked for our son. They started all the drama, said they won't be using it, that he will hate it, change it in the future, etc. My husband wrote them a short email that either they accept our choice or there won't be any problem with them not using this name, as they won't even meet our son. Guess what? They are absolutely cool with the name, and it's been years. In Ta, every time I hear the name Sloane, I think of the girl from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Also, if they Google it, Sloane has been in the top 1,000 baby names for the US since 2009 and is now on the UK baby name charts. Sloane is a real name and they need to back off. Am I the asshole for not paying my wife's tuition when she's blown thousands on clothes? My wife enrolled in an online college degree program and hasn't paid her tuition. She's a stay-at-home mom and drives Uber a few nights a week to make extra cash. Before we had kids she was working part-time and we split bills 50-50. I told her I'd pay for food and housing after the kids came. In the years since then I've asked her to help out with costs because we are house poor and money keeps getting tighter. She spends most of what she makes on clothes and accessories, and calls it her fun money. I asked her to save up to pay the tuition, which is under $1,000. In the last week she has spent $400 on her credit card on dresses, and wants me to pay her tuition. I create budgets every so often but she never uses the tools and apps we have for them. I told her she should drop out this semester and save up until the next round of classes starts up. She's been excited to start learning in classes again and started to tear up. I then said she could make a list of things she is willing to sacrifice to pay for the tuition, like her brand new iPhone, or her new purses, and if she sold them and got second-hand items to replace them, she could pay the tuition with her own funds. She left the room at this and hasn't spoken since. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole, but I do not get how two people with different financial mindset can marry each other. I am saving, investing and have some fun money. My wife is also on the same side. When we first met I had no clue about investing, but we both discussed financial goals, savings, spending habits and things like that. Stop calling her a stay-at-home mom. She's not. She's working. The idea of being a SOM is giving her the misguided illusion that whatever money she makes driving Uber gets to be her fun money. It can't be fun money if you're struggling. She needs to be struggling too. Otherwise nothing will change. In Ta. Not the asshole. You don't have a money tree even if your wife thinks you do. Not the asshole, but your wife is. There's only fun money when basic needs have been met. Not the asshole. Clothes and the newest iPhone should not be your priority over your classes when you're a grown adult with kids. Not the asshole, that's absurd. Am I the asshole for not paying for road I would use if built? Straight to the story. A developer in our area went bust, and plots behind and next to my land were for sale for a good price. Suddenly, I had new potential neighbors. One day a guy appeared on my land, introduced himself and told me that he had bought the land behind mine and asked if I would agree to allow them to build a road on the border of my land, as the person who owns the land next to me don't want it to go in the middle of his land, but he would agree to have it on the border of our two lands, as he could also use the same road as his driveway. I agreed and told him that sure, the only condition is that I can also use the road if I need to access that side of my land if I need for whatever reason, so he has to do all the paperwork, and when everything is ready we can make it official. We exchanged contacts and everything seemed to be great. A few days ago I got an email with an attachment with plans and everything and costs divided to 3, assuming that everyone including me will pay 1/3. The future neighbor next to me replied that he would only cover part of the cost of what he would use, as he would only use half of it. I replied to his email with something like, I am sorry if there was a misunderstanding, but I will not pay for the road, because I don't need that road. I will allow you to build it and my only condition is that I can use it if I need it. That means that the person next to me would have to cover 25% and the rest is the guy who is behind us. The guy called me and was mad at me, that I was selfish and greedy, and that I expected to use something that others built and it would be so expensive for him. I am a jerk. He did not exactly use the word asshole, but am I the asshole? Edit info. I would allow it, because in my country the owner of landlocked land can go to court and this is usually the solution anyway, a road on the border of the other lands. It is not legal question though. I asked if I am an asshole for not paying for it. Not the asshole. They should be happy that you allow it to build the road. It's not your problem that the place behind yours is not having a direct connection to a road. The new owner had any possibilities to figure out this problem before he signed the contract. Not the asshole. Also, if this road would go over your property at all, your neighbor should pay you for an easement. Not the asshole. If the guy wants the road, he can pay for it himself. And if it is on your land, you don't even need his permission to use it. The fact that the road might benefit you doesn't automatically translate into an obligation to pay for it. Definitely not the asshole. They need the road in exchange for permission to build it on your land and not charging him you require use of it. Also make sure any contract if you eventually sign one states that you have zero liability for the road and zero responsibility to maintain it, as snow removal or repairs can be expensive and if someone gets in an accident on it and claims the road was dangerous you can be liable as a private road. He wants an easement on your land forever and wants you to pay him? He's got it dead wrong. He should pay you a fee for loss of use etc. because he wants the shortcut. Not the asshole. Just withdraw the offer and be done with their drama.